right, welcome. This is our Gorilla Studio 8 scheduling budgeting series. I'm going to be doing intro to budgeting, Gorilla version 8. First time I've ever done this class, so I had to put together a curriculum today, and I put a lot of stuff in there, hoping I could get through most of it, if not all of it. So as I go through the class, please feel free to chat in a question if you have a question pertaining to anything that I'm discussing at that moment. We will have a Q&A at the end. So if you have any questions about budgeting or even about scheduling or anything about pre-production or production in general or Gorilla in general or our company in general, I'd be happy to answer them. Okay. All right, great. So let's get started. So again, this is intro to budgeting. So when I say intro, it's a little bit more than an intro. It's sort of an intro to intermediate, really, class, because we're going to be going through some very advanced features also. So it'll be a combination of both. So hopefully you'll get something out of it. Okay, very good. So here we go. So I'm going to go to, I have a PowerPoint, and then I'm going to go out of the PowerPoint and go into Gorilla and back into the PowerPoint to keep me on track. Okay, so first section is we're going to go over just budget basics, how to get a budget started, how to select a template, and all the different types of sections in the budget, how to modify category, move accounts, and things like that. Okay, so this is just budget basics and how to just get started and dive in. All right, so let's go ahead and go into Gorilla. All right, very good. So when you first launch Gorilla, if you're not familiar with it, you will go to what's called the project manager. So it doesn't just open up a budget, okay? It goes to the project manager. And in the manager, that's one of the reasons why we call it now Studio, is you manage all your projects, whether they be schedules or whether they be budgets, okay? So we're going to concentrate on the right-hand side here, which is the budgeting side. I will reference scheduling here and there when it's needed. But again, this is just a budgeting class. Okay, so when you first launch, this is just the two demo budgets that we have in Gorilla. You can certainly look at them and play with them to your heart's content. You can even use them if you want to use them, because they do have numbers attached to them. And I mean, they are limited. It's just $130,000 budget and a $1 million budget. But of course, you can do whatever you want. So in order to load a budget, the easiest way, of course, is just to click on the name of the budget, and it will go into the top sheet of that budget. But before I do that, even though I did it, let's go back to manager. This is the button here that always takes you back to the manager. And so we're in the manager now. And what we're going to do is just see how to add more templates, more budgets, right? So what we're going to do down here is there's a folder down here that says load budget. So I'm going to click on that. And what that allows you to do is allows you to select a budget from a location on your hard drive. Now, I don't have any budgets in my documents folder. That's usually where they save. So if I save a budget right now, that's where it will save. Okay. But if I'm going to load a budget from a template or from a form, you would select this button here, forms. And then you could select samples, templates, or studio. Those are the three types of budget types we have. Then I'll explain each one. A sample is literally just that. It is a sample, which means there are numbers attached. And usually the name of a sample will have a number, a numerical number attached to it, like 1,200,000 documentary. These don't have numbers, but 500K, 600K, that kind of thing, because they have numbers attached to them. Again, they're just samples. So you could just select one of these. It will load into the project manager, and then you can open that budget and start working with it. You can also look at templates. Now, templates also are samples, but the only difference between templates and samples are the templates, which are these right here, don't have numbers attached to them. Okay, so you're not going to have camera department with $400,000 attached to camera department, for example, but you will have all the account numbers and all the category and all that kind of stuff. So you could just kind of go through each one of those line items and decide what it is that you want to use, okay? And then go ahead and start working with that budget, okay? So we have quite a few here to choose from. And the last section is called the studio budget. Now, if you're doing a budget for a studio, like Disney, like Amazon, Netflix, Warner Brothers, etc., this is where you will find most of the templates that those studios use. Again, check with the studio before you actually start working on the budget. They might probably have a template for you already to use. But if you click on here, there's lots and lots of different studio templates that are, some are older, some are newer. Like we have Amazon that we added, and Netflix and things like that. Like I think all these Netflix ones are fairly new. So you can select one of those and then just start. Okay, let me close this up. So I'm going to be working basically with just this sample budget in here right now. So I'm going to go ahead and click on it to go into it. And when you first launch the budget, it goes to the top sheet, okay? And the top sheet basically is just a summary of all your budget line items, of your sections, okay? And if you can see here on the right-hand side, there will be numbers all attached to most of these category sections. Now, not all of them will, but most of them should have a number attached to them. And we're going to show you how, I'm going to show you how to get those numbers in there, because you don't enter a number here on the summary. This is not where you enter the numbers. This is just a summary. Like this is telling you right here, production staff, that account here is a summary of all the line items for the production staff, okay? So you can also see that the budget is divided into these blue kind of sections here: total pre-production, total production, total post, and there's one more, total other. These are sections, or budget sections, we call them. And for the most part, doesn't have to be, but for the most part, budgets are divided into usually 3 or 4 sections, above the line, below the line, or pre-production, production, post-production, that kind of thing. And you can enter those section line breaks, of course, anywhere you want in the budget. I'll show you how to do that. And then, of course, you have your numbering system. Now, this is a very arbitrary thing. It would seem that it's arbitrary, but it really isn't. Depending on the accounting that you're using, these numbers are actually very important, because if you're using certain accounting software, or you're using certain studios to submit a budget to, they want a certain accounting method. So they would want, for example, set operations to be 110-00, and then if I go into set operations by clicking the go to button here, everything underneath set operations is noticed with a 10, right? So 1001, 1002, 1005. You can skip them if you want, because there is no 1003, 1004 in this particular budget template. But in any case, these are I mean, if you're doing a budget for yourself, for an independent budget, you could do whatever you want when it comes to account numbers. But when you're doing a budget for a particular organization or production company that has accounting numbers, you want to adhere to those accounting numbers. Okay, so let's go back to the top sheet. And the next thing that I wanted to show you is that there are not just the 4 different sections going up and down, the pre-production, production, post-production, etc., on the top sheet. All right, there are also dig down levels into the budget. So guerrilla budgets are 3 or 4 levels deep, which means that you're looking right now at the first level. We color them. So this is the red level, the top sheet level, which is the summary. Going down deep, now I already did that for set operations, is our orange level, or our account level. And you can see that here on the toolbar, that the account level is grayed out so that you are on that level. We also color coded so that you can see orange's account. And then you can dig down one more to what's called the detail level. So if you click down here, you go to the detail level, or our green level. And this is basically where you enter all your rates, okay? And you do a lot of work here. This is where you enter rates. This is where you import stuff from your schedule if you wanted to do that. So those are the 3 levels. There is a 4th level, and I'm going to get to that later on. Not everybody uses it, but it is quite an advanced and really cool feature, the 4th level. Okay, let's go back to the top sheet real quick. Now, let me go back to my PowerPoint so I don't get off track here. Okay, the budget sections, I did that. Modifying a category and moving an account. All right, perfect. So again, a lot of the templates that you load and a lot of the samples that you will see will have accounts that you may use or may not use, or you might want to add your own. Now, of course, you could certainly do that. If you wanted to modify the name, for example, of an account, you just click in it and just modify the name. Now, if you wanted to add a top sheet category or basically a new account on the top sheet between, let's say, set operations and camera department, you can do that by just clicking the three dots here and clicking on insert row. Now that's going to just click a blank row, kind of like Excel if you want to look at it. And now you should put an account number. Now, of course, I'm not adhering now to a standard, so I will just find the last number here, which is 29. So I'll just type 003000, and you can go ahead here and type in new account or new category, what have you, and you now have a blank line that you can then dig down deep into the account level and then the detail level and add information to that line. Okay, if you wanted to delete it, of course, you just click on the three dots again and delete it, and it's gone. Okay, so I'm not going to be playing too much with that. On the account level, and I'm going to go down into the next level of the budget. Now, for example, let me just explain a little bit more about this. Set operations is just a top-level summary of all the set operations. So in the account level, you will see the set operation categories or accounts, right? So grip, best boy, that kind of thing is in set operations for this budget. Doesn't have to be for every single budget, okay? And in this particular instance, we have 6 items or 6 accounts for set operations for the main category on the top sheet, which is set operations, okay? So here, very similarly, which is the 3 dots over here, if you want to add something, like, for example, I didn't have 1003, right? If I wanted to add 1003, I can certainly do that and do insert row right here and type in, and I don't know what that would be necessarily, but this would be a, let's just call it new account here. And then you can go ahead and do whatever you need to do for that account, okay? There's another feature here, which is kind of cool, and that is the ability to move or copy an account. And this is brand new in Gorilla 8, which allows you to literally take an account. Now remember, an account can have many, many, many detailed line items. So even though over here, for example, grip is a good example, it probably has 2 or 3 different line items or maybe more in the detail level, which we'll get to in a second. If I wanted to copy or move it, you can do that by move or copy here and select either move or copy, as you can see, and then select another category. When notice the red is being shown here because you're copying it to the summary, the top sheet, and then you can then modify that category or then delete it if you wanted to delete it here. Okay, so that's that. Inserting a new total. Okay, we'll go through that, and deleting a category and undo delete. All right, we'll get over some of these very rudimentary basic things, and then we'll go into some really cool stuff about budgeting. So if you wanted to insert a production total, okay, somewhere on the top sheet. So for example, I have a production, this is all production from 0700 all the way to 1900. Now, for some reason, let's say I wanted to split that up, which I certainly can. Let's say I wanted to do a total that is mostly just production and camera, okay? Well, you could do that. So let's say I wanted to insert right over here underneath 1100. I wanted to do insert total. Now, notice I'm doing total, not row. Row will create a blank line. Total is going to be a section break. Okay, so I don't want to mess up this budget right now, but if I wanted to type in total camera or total set or what have you, I would click OK. And then what that would do is it would create a blue line here underneath camera department, and it would be called total, whatever you want to call it. And it would then summarize these line items here, these 4, I think there are 4 of them, right? Line items to a subtotal. And then it would change the subtotal down here for production, because that would be different now, minus those 4 category top sheet line items. Okay. Now, the next one was undo delete, which I'm going to show you on the detail level. So I'm going to hold on to that one. That's pretty cool that we added that. Okay, so that's sort of the budget basics. Now that we have that out of the way, let's go into some really cool stuff. Account level. Okay. I already showed you how to navigate to the account level. So we could just click here and go to the account level. Now, the nice thing that you don't do much in the account level, to be honest with you, it's just sort of a list of accounts that belong to the top sheet, but top sheet category. But one thing that you can do, which is very, very cool, you're not going to see this in other budgeting programs, is the ability to track an expense against your budget. And you do that here in the account level. So for example, we have a UPM here, Unit Production Manager, and he or she is budgeted for $2,000. And what you can do now again, this is just a small budget, so that's why it's such a small amount. But what you can do now is literally during your production is track expenses paid to the UPM during production. So you see if you're on if your budget is balanced during production. So let's do that. Let's say, for example, I'm going to go into the UPM. There's an option here called track, expense. I'm going to click that, and it brings up what's called a transaction register. So let's go ahead, and this is just like if you know anything about QuickBooks or accounting, it's kind of like that. I've already created a couple accounts here, just dummy accounts, obviously. So I'm going to select an account, and account basically is just an account you create, okay? Pay to, as you can see, the UPM. I can put in an amount. So let's say we paid the UPM $200. You could put a note there and click done. And so what this will do is it will create a register, and you can see that up here, paid 200, variance 1,800. So we have left balance 1,800 to pay the UPM based on this budget. Okay, so let's close that out, and you go do other things, and then you come back a few days later or a week later, and you want to pay the UPM another $200. You would go in here, you'd click on track expense. So you don't have to use this feature if you don't want to, but it's kind of cool. And then go in here again, same account, or you could pay him from a different account, right? You could select another account. And let's just for fun call it 190 because we had a different week, or maybe a little less, or maybe overtime. Let's be generous. Okay, so we had some overtime, and this could be over budget, right? This could be that we're going over budget. Click on done. We've got our 2 transactions here, and you could see that we have paid 500 and we have 1,500 variance. Okay, so you can see how the expense module in the accounting, you can track your expenses as you go, which is pretty cool. Okay, track expenses against budget. Let's go to the next part. Expenses. Okay, so how expenses work, and this is if you're familiar with Excel, this will definitely help a lot, but it's a lot more. This is like Excel on steroids, but you certainly can't do a budget like this in Excel. So let's say we want to go into the detail level, the green level, the expense level, and this is where you enter all your line items in terms of rates. Okay, so even though you see that we attract our expenses here, remember I did not enter $2,000 here on this line. It was entered over here. Okay, so in this line, we just have this budget says UPM, and this is just a flat rate of 2,000. It doesn't there's no days or there's no weeks or anything like that. It's just a flat rate, which of course you can do. Now, if you wanted to be more specific about your budget, of course you can do weeks. Of course you can do days. It's probably more common to do that. And you can go ahead and do that. Now, the way budgets work, I'm just going to go back to the PowerPoint real quick, is you enter an expense, which is amount times X times rate. All right, very simple. So you see amount, which is over here, times X times rate. So 1 times 1 times 2,000 is, of course, 2,000. If I were to change amount, for example, to 2, it would change it 2 times 1 times 2,000, which is 4,000, right? So now, obviously, this is not a flat rate. This could be maybe a weekly rate. So you could type in W for weeks. So now we're on a weekly schedule. But let's say we really don't have 2 weeks. We really have 6 weeks for the shoot. So now you can see that this budget is shaping up to a 6-week shoot. And we're paying our UPM $2,000 a week, which is $12,000. Okay, so that's basically how you build your budget slowly, going by one line item at a time. All right, now let's get into some really cool stuff, and that is importing scheduling into budgeting. Now, if you have the Gorilla scheduling program, you can buy, of course, the budgeting separately from the scheduling. You don't have to have both. But if you do get scheduling also, you can then create your schedule in Gorilla, and do what's called linking. You could link your budget to your schedule. And what that allows you to do is it allows you to import certain items, even rates, from the schedule and days, right? Because the schedule includes days from the data days report in Gorilla into your budget. So let's go into, for example, one thing to import, which is cool, is talent, right? Actors. So I'm going to go into the actors category, and I really don't have anything here. This is just sort of a sample. We're not paying our actors anything, but let's say we do want to pay our actors something. So we want to import our actors. Now there's a few ways to do this. We can go down here and select the import actor button. I'm going to go up here and select it here only because my Zoom is blocking my bar down there. You can't see that, but I can. So I know it's up here. Here we go. There's another way to do it. Import scheduling. There's the button on the toolbar also. Import scheduling and then import actor. Okay. So I got a question here. Can you also show how to input days into the extra account? If you could explain to me what you mean by that, I'll be happy to. Can you show how to input days into the extra account? Oh, extras. Do you mean extras? Background characters? Is that what you're talking about? I think that should be. Got it. Okay. Sure. Yeah, absolutely. I'll do that. So here's the thing on this was added in Gorilla 8. Okay. Do you see this right here? Extras. This was added. This was not here in Gorilla 7. We added extras. So if you wanted to do a day out of days in scheduling for extras, you would have to run the day out of days report for extras, and then you come back to budgeting because it says 0 right now. This is what, excuse me, these fields would be populated with how many days the extras are working, but you have to do the day out of days report in scheduling. Right now, the last day out of days report I did for this sample is for cast members. But that's basically how you do it. This was added. We did not have this in Gorilla 7. This little button right here only did cast members. Yeah, good. Nice that we added that. Someone asked that a little while ago, and that's why we added it. So here we're in importing actors. Now, what you're looking at is you're looking at a portal window to the scheduling module, okay? So we're seeing all our actors. We're also seeing the character name. This is the characters that were imported from the screenplay. And we're seeing the total days worked. Now we're only going to see, I'm going to say this one more time, the total days worked if you ran a day out of days report. Notice down here, run DOOOD report now. If you didn't run it and you see all zeros here and you know you have a schedule that has days, you can click that button. It'll go to scheduling, run the report, and then populate this field with the proper days. Okay. So let's say we want to import Christine. If you want to do per day, you could look down here. You have the option of doing per day. You can do per week, per month. I'm going to do per day because I've got my day out of days. The rate here is $4.50, and this was entered in scheduling, the $4.50. So I'm going to go ahead and click on Amanda. Pops in 3 days at $4.50 per day, and it gives you the total here. Now notice there's a little bit difference here between the other lines. Number one, there's a link button right here. Oh, it's not a button, it's a link, a symbol right here, which is telling you that this rate was imported from a linked budget schedule, excuse me. And there's Christine, the detail here is a link. So if you click on it, it will take you to scheduling. Now, of course, you have to have the scheduling module activated, and you can see the information for this particular contact or actor in scheduling. This is not budgeting now. What you're looking at right now is scheduling. Okay, so that's how you import actors with their rates. Okay, you can also do this with crew. So I'm still in talent, but that's fine. If you go to import scheduling, import crew, you could do the same thing. This is showing me crew from my scheduling module. Okay, and the shoot days will appear based on the schedule for the shoot days entered for the crew. Okay, I obviously there's only 111 because it's a sample over there. I only scheduled 1 day as a sample, but normally this will show 2 days, 3 days, 4 days, etc. And that information will pop in if you want to do it by days. If you want to do your crew by weeks, you wouldn't really be using the importing days. You could still import the crew member, right? But you wouldn't be using the days if you want to do weeks. You'd want to do, and I'll show you how to do weeks with globals, which is kind of cool. Okay, Let's move on. I've gotta move quickly here. Import scheduling, location, budget, linked, and the guerrilla rate. Perfect. Okay. So the nice thing also is that you can import, one other thing is locations. Now, locations are entered in scheduling normally because you need to schedule locations over there. And there is a place there to import, to enter a budget rate. So if you wanted to import a location, these are my locations from the linked budget. I have one here, office building, that has a rate. And notice it says days at location. Since I did my schedule properly and I added my location to my breakdown sheets and my schedule is completed, Gorilla knows that we need 2 days at this particular location. So if I click import for the office building comes in, and 2 days at 3,000 is 6,000. So it's really kind of cool if you're going to be using Gorilla scheduling to bring in, now you can't bring in everything, obviously, but obviously those 4 items, you could do elements too, you could do props and set dressing and costumes. You could bring in all that stuff if you want to really get detailed. Okay, the next thing I want to show you is the rate book. Now let's go into a different category. Let's go into DP or camera. And so I have a camera line here already, 1101, and there's a rate there. And I already have all this information here, but I'm going to delete it all just so I can, let's see, I could probably do them all at one. I know there's an option to delete all line items, but I'm going to do it one at a time and delete. Okay. All right. So we got no line items here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a brand new line item. I'm going to call this line item DP. And there's no rate here at all. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I want to import a rate. Okay. Now, normally, of course, if you don't have the rate book, you could just type in a rate there, and that's fine. You could type in whatever you want. But if you have the Gorilla rate book, what you can do is you can click on those 3 dots, go here to rate book, and it brings up the Gorilla rate book with thousands and thousands of union rates. You can select an agreement. Now you got to navigate a little bit, know a little bit about the unions and where you're going to get the rates. I know that I want to go into my camera 600 union, which is, I think it's right here, 600. And here will be the weekly rate for a DP. You can see DP weekly rate. I'm going to click on that number right there. That number pops right into the rate field. And notice also that there's a little $sign here, which means if I click it, this is telling you this is coming from the local 600 camera union. The DP is the position. It even gives you the schedule and overtime information and the agreement, the IATSE basic agreement, and what the effective dates are, okay? If you wanted to clear the rate, you could just clear it, and you could then, enter a rate on your own, all right? So I'm going to close that up. So now that we've got our rate, now that's a weekly rate, okay? I didn't import the DP from the schedule, and I didn't import the days because I'm working on a weekly schedule. So let's say we have a 6-week shoot. Now there's a few ways to do this, right? There's not the hard way. There's, the simple way and the more complex way, and the more complex way is going to save you time in the long run. So if I go over here and let's say we have a 6-week shoot, and I can type in W, obviously at $4,000 or $5,000 almost a week, we've got almost $30,000 that we're paying the DP. Now that's one way to do it. Then you go through your budget and you do your grip and you do your first camera assistant and all that, first assistant director, and you always put in 6 for weeks for the shoot. 6, 6, 6, 6, 6, 6, 6. Now you've done all your budget, you've done the entire budget, you've entered the number 6 maybe 30, 40, 50 times. And then you come back and someone comes back to you and realize that this budget is just not gonna, this film is not gonna be able to be shot in 6 weeks. We need 8. Well, what a pain in the ass. You got to go back to each one of these line items and change that 6 to 8. But if instead of typing in 6 for the very first time, you create a global for that amount, you can just change the global once and it changes and filters it out throughout the entire budget. So let's go ahead and do that. So notice that there are 3 globes on the detail line item. There's one for amount, one for X, even though it's not right underneath it, and one for rate, okay? So let's go ahead and create a globe. I'm gonna click on the globe button down here, and there's a video on it, which is great. There's a video on a lot of things. I'm gonna close that up. And I'm going to create, we don't need that one right now. We're going to create a global. Right now, there's nothing here. I'm going to create one global. I'm going to call it SW for shoot weeks. This is a code. I could do 2 digits, 1 digit, whatever you want. And I'm going to put in W for weeks. And I'm sorry, W down here for weeks. Sorry. Right. And the value, this is the value. And this is where I'm going to put 6. Okay. And in the description, if you want, you could certainly put in a little longer description for the global, right? So now I have one global called shoot weeks. Okay. Now I could do another one. Let's do another one. I'm going to call it PR for prep. And let's say we need 2 weeks of prep. Okay. We'll put W for weeks. Okay. And wrap. Usually it's prep, shoot, wrap, right? So we're going to do WR. Now you could do whatever you want. I'm just doing something simple. And let's say there's a 1 week wrap. And we're going to put in W and click OK. So now we have 3 globals, right? We have a prep for 2 weeks. It's a little out of order here. A shoot week 6 and a wrap 1. So now if I go here and let's click this globe right here. Okay. If I click the globe, it's going to say select a value or select a global for the amount field. This is very important why this is a green, okay, highlighted, for the value of DP, for DP. I'm going to click 6. Now, notice that nothing happened, really. The rate stayed the same, of course. That's not going to change. The subtotal didn't change. Nothing changed, aside from a little flag right here. Excuse me. That is indicating that you have a global for weeks. Okay, so let's say I go through my budget and I enter 6. I don't enter 6, but I use the global instead of typing 6 all the time. If I go back later on and I go ahead and click on the globe again, I'm sorry about this because I can't see the bottom of my screen. Anyway, if I click on the local globals again and I change this now, remember we would change it to 8. Okay, and then close it. Notice now that this changed to 8. Now it would have changed, filtered throughout the entire budget wherever I had that global entered. So now we have 8 weeks times 1 times the rate, and we have our subtotal. So you really want to set up your globals. You really want to set time to set up your globals. You could do it not just for weeks, you could do it for rates. So for example, even though I brought this in from the rate book, right, I could do a rate for the DP and then modify the rate, or I mean, chances are the rate aren't, you don't, unless you're doing a non-union film and you're going to pay every crew member a certain amount of money, very kind of a flat rate, that's perfect time to do globals for rates. But usually on a union shoot, all the rates are very, very different based on the unions. So it doesn't really make sense to do globals for rates, not for a union shoot. Okay, let's move on. That was the rate book. The 4th level. Okay, so remember I showed you now we've got our red level, the top sheet, our orange level account, and our green level, which is the detail level. There is another level. If you want to use it, you don't have to. And that's called our 4th level. Now, it's very, very important to know, because if you are managing the budget and you're not doing all the budget, because a lot of times you manage the budget, UPM does the budget. And to be honest with you, the UPM doesn't necessarily know what the DP needs. The DP will usually give the UPM his budget or her budget and say, here's a list in Excel, $5,000, $10,000, $20,000, and break it all down. So what you can do is you can import that Excel sheet into the budget so you don't have to type it all in. All right, I'll show you how to do that. So let's say the DP, I'll even do it on this line, okay, since we're here. I'm going to create a new line, and I'm going to call it camera items, okay? That's it, camera items. Now, there's nothing here, 0 here. I could literally go and say, we need a camera, we need a lens, we need lighting, and da-da-da-da-da. It'll take me forever to do, especially if you're on a big shoot, right? But if the DP has already done the list, which he or she probably has done, you click here, the 3 dots, click on the 4th level button, and then we'll go into a pink level, which is 4th level. And it's basically telling you, okay, you could either type in one at a time, so you don't have to, have them all under the detail. You could literally go through here and they'll be all here. Or you could import an Excel list. Now I have a sample here and it's in Gorilla. So if you go to the Gorilla file and budget additions, fourth level samples. We've got just a couple samples here. This is simply an Excel file, right? And click open. And you're going to see here 4 columns or 4 columns and many, many rows. And all these line items, and if you scroll through them, you could just scroll through them, are camera items that the DP created in Excel. And he or she will create that budget for you, send you the Excel sheet, and you can then import it in. Boy, is that a time saver, right? Instead of sort of manually doing it all. Now, another feature that we added in Gorilla 8 is the ability to block a certain item that was imported. So let's say the DP gave you a list of 200 items. This is just 9, 200, 300, 400 items. You can go through as the UPM or the whoever's doing the budget, producer, and say, okay, we really don't need a memory card because we've got lots of memory cards. We don't need a tripod because we've got a really cool tripod. And you could block these items, okay? And notice that the budget will change down here. And so what you're going to see is the budget line, the detail here will reflect what is in the 4th level, okay? So that's pretty cool. This is going to show you a little pink 4 here, which tells you that that number has been derived for the 4th level, all right? And a paperclip, which is an attachment. It's like an attached budget. So that's the 4th level. Okay, globals. Actually, I did globals. Oh, I did this little, and I did prep, shoot, wrap. Okay, prep, shoot, wrap. Perfect. Oh, I love it. Okay, fringes. Okay, I'm trying to go fast because there's so much. I want to take questions too. Okay, fringes are a bit more complex. I'm not going to go through all the different types of fringes, but I'll definitely give you an overview of fringes. And the nice thing is that we've got videos on them in case you wanted to check them out. So in a nutshell, what is a fringe? You know, I have it here. Instead of me trying to do it at the top of my head, if I'm not mistaken, I can click this little right here, and it'll say all about fringes. So I'll leave this up on the screen for a bit. What are fringes? Fringes are literally percentages that you can add to your detail line items. Now, fringes can either be, there are 2 types. There's fringes by percentage, which is most of the time what you're going to use. And it's just simply a percentage. You know, SAG sometimes has a 15% fringe or what have you. We'll check, actually, we'll check SAG in a minute. And then there's something called fringe benefits by flat rate per unit. This will be a mind twister. Look at the even explanation there. The flat rate that will be added to the subtotal by unit. So in other words, it's by hour, an hour, or week, or week. It's calculated by the hourly equivalent of the unit. I'm not sure who uses this in general, but it's used in the industry. In Gorilla will do that. We have a video on it. I'm not going to go over it here because it even twists my mind how it works, but it works, and we do have a flat rate per unit option. We also just added in Gorilla 8 fringe ranges, and I will touch on that quickly because we have a whole video on that. And what is a fringe range? Okay, that's basically combining 3 or 4 line items together to for the fringe range for the cutoff to be calculated based on all 3. I'll explain that quickly when we get to it. But let me do a couple fringes. So here's a fringe. I just created one. I just called it F1. You could call it whatever you want. And if I wanted to attach this particular fringe to the DP, it's a 15% fringe. You just click on the attach button, boom, you see that the fringe popped in over there. And we're going to go ahead and close that up. And then we have a fringe attached. You'll see that at the very bottom, the fringes will total, okay? Now, let's go into a SAG item, and I'll show you how it works here with the rate book. So if I go to actors, and let's go for Christine, okay? And Christine's an actress or actor, right? And we want to attach a SAG fringe to Christine. Now, if we go into the rate book and go to, excuse me 1 second here. Let's move this out of the way. Not SAG, fringes right here. And then scroll down to SAG fringes, and we'll see that the SAG fringes this is for 2020, of course, they're going to be doing the new one soon, probably go up a bit. But this is what it is currently, right? So the SAG fringes right now are, looks like they're 18%. Is that right? Let's see. These are after fringes and DGA fringes, WGA fringes. Oh, here we go, SAG, 20. No, I had a feeling they were higher, 20%. Okay, so it's a 20%, quite high, but that's SAG for you, for a fringe. So let's go ahead and add a 20% fringe to Christina. You would click here. I'm sorry, that's fringe range. I'm not gonna do that yet. You wanna do is you wanna click on the fringe. We wanna create a new one. So we're gonna click on setup. We're gonna click on new fringe. We'll call it SAG, of course. And it is 20%, right? So I think 0.2 would do it, right? 20%, and close that up. And oh, sorry, that was go back to fringe here, attach the SAG fringe, close it out, and notice that the SAG fringe of 20% was added to the detail line item, and you'll see that on all the reports. Okay, so that's fringe. Now, I'm going to just touch on fringe ranges quickly because it's also complicated, but very powerful. And let's go to DP. Did I have a prep sheet? I don't know if I did. Let's see. I might not have, but we'll create one. Okay, so we had a DP here. So let's call this guy prep, right? And let's do another line item, insert row, and call it DP prep wrap shoot, right? Wrap, actually, this is prep is two weeks, I think, right? And then wrap is 6 weeks, right? Or 8 weeks. I don't know. What doesn't really matter. 61, no, 61. Yeah, we're not going to do that. Let's see, weeks. I think it was 8, right? And then, okay, and then one more. Should have set this up before, but let's see, DP wrap. Okay, these are all messed up. I'm not thinking. Prep, wrap, and shoot. Prep, shoot, wrap. Forgive me, I'm a little befuddled. Wrap is 1 week, and shoot is 8 weeks. Okay, there we go. Makes a little more sense, right? And the rate is 488. Okay, so let's just put, I'm just going to put 4,000 here. I know this is not right, but okay. So we got a lot of money that's going out to the DP. So let's say you want to do a fringe for the DP. Now, normally what I would do, and see, it's actually perfect. Notice that the fringe up here is calculating for the first line, but I want the fringe to calculate for all 3 lines. Okay. Now I can certainly attach the fringe again here and attach the fringe again here. That'll do the same percentage. That'll work. However, if you know about fringes, they have something called cutoffs. And what a cutoff is, and if I go into the fringe here, there is a cutoff of $10,000, which basically it's 15% of 10,000, so it's 1,500. Which basically, notice this is 1464. Basically, we only have another, 40 plus less, $36 to go before we hit that cutoff of 15% of 10,000, which is 1,500. If my math is correct. So if I were to add a fringe here to the DP and a fringe here, that would be way more than the cutoff, but it would only calculate the cutoff per line. So what you can do is you can do what's called a fringe range. So I'll set it up real quick. And what you can do here, and there's a whole video on it, DP fringe, perfect. And what you want to do is literally attach those 3 together, right? And make a range. Those are combined now. So what's going to happen is that this fringe, if you attach the fringe to all 3, which you need to do, I haven't done it, then you would basically, well, you wouldn't see the fringe here. It would be only in the report you would see the fringe, or on the very bottom right, you'd see the fringe total. But basically what you're doing is you're combining 3 line items to 1 so that the cutoff will calculate based on the 3 combined line items. A little complicated, but powerful. Okay, budget groups. All right, we're going to move on to budget groups. This is really cool. This is fun to play with. What a budget group is it allows you to group a line item on the detail level to a certain, any group. You could call it whatever you want, right? And then you could see how much you've budgeted for that group, all right? So, for example, let's go back into, let's go to set operations. Let's go to the grip. We're going all over the place in this budget. So let's create a group here. And you'll see what I mean when I do it. I clicked on the group, create groups. I'm going to call this Canada. Now, it doesn't have to be a locale. It could be anything, right? And you can give it a color. You don't have to give it a color, but it's nice to do that because then you can see that. It's a little more visual. And then let's do another one. We'll call this Georgia. That's a good place to shoot nowadays. We'll give it a nice orange color for peach. And one more, let's call this Mexico. We're going to shoot in Mexico. I'm just using locales. You don't have to use locales. You could do it for anything. Okay. So now I've got 3 groups that happen to be locales. So what I can do now is, let's say that the grip is part of the, oh, I'm sorry. You do that up. Yeah, I'm sorry. Attach group. The grip is part of the Canada group. Okay. So you could see why the color is important. Okay. And the, let's go back to the DP, right? And the DP, now I know I have 3 items for DP, but let's just select the first one to do it quickly. And this guy, the DP, is part of the Georgia group. Now, of course, you could do it for the wrap also. I'll just do it for this as well. Georgia. Attach group, Georgia. Okay. And the, let's try someone else for the Mexico group. Electrical, how about some electrical? I know this doesn't necessarily make sense, but no, we don't have anything in there. Let's try something else. Editorial. All right, let's say we're going to edit in Mexico, whatever. Why not? Okay, this is, you got to do it per line item. But so you'd have to go through each one and do that. But let's do this for a group and do Mexico. Okay, so even though you really should do it for all of them just for this to work properly, right? So I've attached these line items to different groups. So what you can do now is you can print what's called a group report. And this is going to tell you very quickly what group and how much is budgeted for that group. Okay, so it's pretty cool. You can see in Canada, we've got 1,500, Georgia, we've got the DP, which is 45,000, and Mexico, 300. So you can very quickly see how much, and again, you can do whatever you want. I'm just using locales. If you want to do, certain people, you could do that. If you want to do certain talent, you could do that. Whatever you want. A group is completely open to be entered. That, whatever you want. Can you put the DP into all of the groups? Yeah. If you want to put into, you'll only see one color. But if you want to put the DP in Canada, Georgia, and Mexico, you can. Yes, you can. You could do multiple groups. So that's basically how the groups work. And then there's an option there, if I'm not mistaken, to include or not include in the budget. So if you select or deselect, by default, they're included. But if you deselect include in budget, it will not include that in your top sheet or any other report. Okay, so that's kind of cool. You can do the same thing with location and set. Okay, it's basically the same thing, but it's just another criteria that you can use. Okay, contractual charges. Let's go back to the top sheet. So the top sheet basically allows you to see the summary of your budget, but this is also where you do contingency and such. So if you look on the very bottom, let's see if I can go to my bottom. Remember, I can't scroll down to my bottom because of these stupid Zoom thingies. So, okay, I don't have a contingency here. So I can do that. And we call those contractual charges. So you go up to edit, insert, delete contractual charge. And a contractual charge can be anything that is a percentage or a flat rate or fee added to your top sheet. Okay, let me say that one more time. A contractual charge, I think that the little right here, contractual charge is a percentage or a flat fee that you can add to your budget. Okay, and this tells you how to do it. So let's say I want, these are just samples here. They're not added. The purple, if something is purple, it's into the budget. So let's go and say I want to do a contingency. I want it to be a percentage right over here. And I want to type in 10%. Okay. And it's already calculating there for me. And if I want to insert that into the budget, I click that. See insert on top sheet right there. And you can see a line was created on the budget, which is 10% of my budget. Okay. And this is how you enter contractual charges. Again, you could do contingency, you could do completion bonds, again, either percentages or rates, whatever you want. Okay, next one. Captions and headers. Okay. All right. So one thing we did a lot is we listen to a lot of people when they wanted to print their top sheet or budget reports, and they're very specific about how that header is formatted. So we really added a lot of customization to what you can add to your header of the budget. Okay, so for example, if to get there, you want to go to, let's see, setup, and there's captions and there's headers. It'll take you to the same place. All these four will take you to the same place with different tabs, but let's just select captions. So you see these are all the four here. So we've got captions. Captions basically are crew, for the most part, that primary crew that you want, you'll put your DP, the DP's name maybe, or the first camera assistant, or the director, the producer at the top of your budget. And you can do that here on the left side and on the right side, or one or the other. So if your budget is linked to a schedule, and this is, you can select this little button right here. And this is showing me, it's going into the portal, into my schedule, my linked schedule. And let's say I want to put in the DP over here. And let's say I want to put the producer right over here. And you can do the left and the right side if you want, okay? And now if you don't have a linked schedule, you can just type them in, right? But if you have a linked schedule, it's kind of cool because the name comes in and the title of that crew comes in, okay? The company header, this will allow you to enter a company header, the name of the company and a logo if you want. And there's two options that you have. You have show on report, use info entered here. So if I click that, this is going to give you a sample of what that's going to look like. Use info entered here. And if you want to use from your linked schedule, you can do that. But before I do that, let me enter a logo here. Insert logo. Let's see if I can find one here. There we go. Okay, and then show budget logo. Push it up a bit, and there's my logo. So that's what my budget, my header is going to look like on the top left. Or if I wanted to use the info from the linked schedule, because the linked schedule can have a different header, you can click that, and that will display information from the linked schedule. Okay, but let's just leave this to be that. The professional header, this is information that is printed on a detail classic report, which is a very cool detail report that we have. So you can put the script dated information, the budget draft date, the prep. Again, this is the prep, shoot, wrap kind of thing. Custom labels, if you want to put something custom. Some people wanted to put very custom, a few custom fields on there. So we allow you to do a label and a related text. So you could do that. Okay, and then notes I'm not going to go over right now, but those are notes that you could print at the bottom of the top sheet. And then down here, this is important. What kind of header do you want to print? We have 6 different options. We keep on adding more. The standard short, the professional, which is this information here, the professional short, or the captions only, which would be, of course, that. Or none, if you don't want any header at all. I'll leave it to standard. So if I were to go to the report and down here and click on top sheet, and you'll see that I just have the simple standard header, which is the name, the company name. And I don't think I selected logo. I deselected logo. But here's the information for the titles and all that. Okay. And if I wanted to put more information, if I printed a classic report, you would have a whole summary of all that information on the top sheet. Okay. So let's see what's next. Captions, company header, professional header. Oh, okay. So this is stuff because I wanted to end at 3 so that we could have time for Q&A. This is just stuff. There's more. I just wanted to show stuff that's in the budgeting module in Gorilla that we have. That's also very cool that I just don't have time to go over, but we do have videos on all of them. And that's add-ons, the way you can add on numbers to the top sheet. Okay, add groups, other information, tax credits. I didn't go over that. Currency conversion. If you happen to be doing a currency conversion in Mexico or Canada or what have you, there's a way to do that. Importing a budget from Movie Magic or Excel, you can do that in Gorilla. Exporting a budget to Excel, you can certainly do that. And in-kind donations. Okay, and I think the next one is Q&A, but before I get there, I'm almost got 3 more minutes, which is great. Let me just show you some of these reports. So down here, I already showed you, if you click on the little print button, you have a sort of a quick preview of reports that you can look at. And these reports are just sort of a quick preview. They're not all of them. If you wanted to go in and really define some of these reports and give some more preferences on them, you click on the More Reports option, or you just go to File, Print. But I'll click down here. And over here, you can see that you can select a module on the left. So if, let's say I want the budgeting module, I want to do a top sheet report. And the gear button here will allow you to customize that report any way you want, okay? So anytime you see a gear button next to the name of the report, there's a lot of things you could do here. Look at this. This was a brand new print 4th level in detail report. Remember all that stuff we got from the camera department? That will, if you select that, well, it is selected here, it will print that information in the budget too. Okay. Expense tracking, which is the transactions, the budget balance, the accounting information that I showed you about. The fringes, remember the 3 different types of fringes you have: percentages, flat rate, right? Globals and units, if you want to print that out. Groups, we went over that. And location set, I just barely went over that. And then the last section would be some of the things I didn't go over, which is in-kind, currency conversion, and tax credits. Okay, if you wanted to export your budget to Excel, I said I wasn't going to go over it, but it's easy enough. You would click on either this button here, or you could just go up to the top sheet and say Export Top Sheet. That's pretty simple. Okay, it is now 2:58. I am 2 minutes early. So I am officially done with the presentation. If you have any questions about budgeting or about scheduling or about Gorilla in general, now is the perfect time to ask. Yeah, if you have Gorilla 7, the upgrade to Gorilla 8 is free. It is a free upgrade. All you have to do, your serial number will work, your activation key will work in 8. You just go to the website, go to the downloads page, and download the installer. If you're on a Mac, if you're on a Mac, there's some special instructions needed to launch Gorilla 8. It's in the notes there. It'll say read if you have Gorilla 7. It'll be in the installer. We also have a video on it on our website. So it's a little bit it's a startup preference that you have to change if you have a Mac. But yeah, it is a free upgrade. Absolutely free upgrade. And all the features, if you wanted to see all the new features for Gorilla 8, you click down here, click on what's new. And now this is showing you a lot of the scheduling features, of course. Edit screenplay, you could do that in the scheduling module. Print screenplay, export Gorilla to final draft. That is really cool. You could do that now. You could export Gorilla to Movie Magic scheduling. Very, very, very cool. If you have someone that's using Movie Magic. Make fringe range. I showed that. Koala call sheets integration. This is really, really powerful. We now have full Koala call sheets integration as an add-on to Gorilla. It used to be a separate program. It's without a doubt the best way to create a call sheet. Shot, not shot status. Import budget for Movie Magic 10. I told you that. Scene timing. Drink a little bit of water here. Hide, do not. Oh, I didn't show that one. Hide, do not print section. I'll show you that one. I'll go back to the budget and show you that one. Remove scheduling elements. Duplicate top sheet. That's new. I'll show you that. Import vendors. Okay, why not? A block 4th line. There's another one. There's another one that I showed you. Okay, let me show the hide, remove, and the duplicate. That's easy enough. Why not? Since we're doing budgeting. So if you go back to the top sheet, we do have a new feature here. It's hidden. It's not even very small to see right there. Duplicate. You would think, no big deal. It's a big deal because production, let's say this is a production staff, for example. Let's say production staff has 10 account items and 300 detail line items, and you want to duplicate that and work on and work on a duplicate for whatever reason. You can now do that. Now, this is even cooler. You ready for this? Click on duplicate. Read this carefully. duplicate this either A, below the row, or to another section. Cool, you could do it to post-production, whatever. But look at this one, duplicate it to another budget. This is very powerful. This allows you to duplicate this one line item only and all account and detail line items that are attached to it from this budget to another loaded budget. So if you want to literally say, oh, I have my whole budget for production staff already that I did 6 months ago. I really don't want to redo it, but I don't need that other budget. I just need that one account. You can do that. Okay. Very, very powerful. New feature in Gorilla 8. Another thing you can do is you can hide a section. So for example, remember I told you I said, let's divide this up into 4 sections. You want to do the camera and divide it up into 4 lines here. Let's say you want to hide that. Okay. What you can do is you can hide a section. So you can literally click on, you have to do you can only do it on one of these line items here. You can't do it here. You won't see hide section here. So you don't, these are different items than here. Do you see that? I don't know if you can see that. I'm clicking on a blue line or a section line. You will have different options here than you do by clicking an account. But check it out, hide section. This is brand new. If you click that, this will literally hide. Notice that it grayed it all out. Hide that section and modify the budget, the line, because it won't calculate that information. So if I wanted to show it, you can go ahead and show it again, and the budget will be back. And also when you print the budget, you could do the same thing. If you go to more reports, budget, top sheet, right here, this is brand new, select sections to print. By default, it'll print all, or select sections, and you could select what sections to print. Brand new in Gorilla 8. Okay, that's a very cool feature too. A lot of cool features, a lot. Okay, I think we're going to wrap it up. I don't see any more questions. If you do have any questions, please feel free to email us or chat us. Okay, sounds good. Once again, please email us if you have any questions. You're welcome to download the demo if you don't have that already, and play with it for 15 days. It works for 15 days. The only thing you can't do is print or export, but it's a fully functional demo. And you're welcome. And you can even check out, if you're on the scheduling side, you can import a screenplay, you could start your schedule. And then if you wanted to purchase Gorilla, you could activate it, and you don't download it again. You would just activate the copy you have, unless of course there's an update and you wanted to do that. But you won't lose your work in the demo. Okay. All right, guys, thanks very much for coming, and we'll see you soon.